All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for My Hero Academia, Season 5, Episode 15. All right.
The Army of 100,000.
And we're back after a break with regards to the little bit where they didn't post an MHA episode.
Yep.
And let's get back in the thick of it here. Hawks is in the thick of it. And things might be getting a bit panicky or a bit desperate. He is not only being watched by the Meta Liberation Army, but they're way stronger than we could have ever thought.
Yep.
And not only are they, an ideology or a faction of, probably,
great sway,
social, political kind of sway, but they are also an army.
Yep. So much so, in the situation so bad that also because he's getting watched, but he's like, all right, I need to also tell kids about this,
If that happens, well, they're with Endeavor, they might just help in general.
They might help spread the word at the very least.
Yeah.
But if they do end up deciding to join the other army that we will need to fight the 100,000, then every pair of hands helps.
Yeah, Jacob and I were talking before the video about how this feels like you're getting the two towers set up here, where you're dealing with All for One and Shigaraki and thinking, Mordor, right?
Right.
But no, Isengard is right next door, and they've got 10,000 strong at least,
Right.
But instead it's 100,000, and also they'll be here by nightfall.
Yeah.
So
all right, children. Here's Daddy's helmet and sword.
Exactly, and it's like
you're 13, you can do it.
It's like
you're 11. That's old enough.
I don't think we have elves coming in to save us here.
Probably not.
Yeah, I know. No All Might,
save us.
Yeah.
And I shall die as one of them.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
Y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion. All right.
Okay.
So we have about an 80-20 episode where 20 of it is Hawks, essentially. Figuring out a little bit more of not just his dynamic from our perspective, but also from his perspective, what he knows about the Meta Liberation Army.
Right.
And by extension, the League of Villains' involvement in that. And that being a confirmed kind of tie-in here, at either bit meaning that the League of Villains are, tenuous allies of sorts by just having them there at that secret meeting, and knowing that Hawks is, working with them, even though they don't know it's, he's
they don't
pulling
know
all the strings here, doing as much as he can.
And so when they were talking about how he was handing out the books, it almost seemed like they were addressing the idea that since they have all these recording devices, they know the segments that he's highlighting, and they're like, yes, good understanding, good grasp of Destro's
No, I don't think that's it.
Okay.
I think it's the way that he speaks it, and the way that he acts it out in the things that he says. Because when he talked to Endeavor, specifically in that moment, giving them the book and stuff, he used the ideology, I think, of the books in his verbiage when describing it, and thus that was the giveaway to Endeavor that
something's
Hawks,
off.
Yeah, something's off with Hawks. And in a world of quirks and stuff and crazy powers, I could totally see Endeavor being like, I'm hyper aware to those types of things. So if one of my subordinates starts acting up, for all I know, there could be something influencing their mind, behavior,
or
whatever.
Who knows? This could be twice.
Right, exactly. Something where he goes, I don't believe that this is you.
Right.
But the way that he was saying it made him go, oh no, I know this is you.
Right.
But you're saying it in a way that gives me the intentional vibe. So the fact that Shigaraki is also not at that meeting,
but every other villain from the League of Villains is pretty much
all the main ones that have iconic kind of moments throughout the series thus far. Specifically Twice, Dabi, Toga, Spinner, and then I'm sorry, Mr. Theater Guy, but you're the one.
I don't think we ever wrote his name.
No. We wrote his name down a while ago. And stuff. We just have so much notes for him.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because big show.
Yeah, exactly.
But I was kind of surprised that him and Spinner were there. But
I'm kind of surprised just that Shigaraki wasn't there, because what I've been getting the vibe with Shigaraki is that he's been more moving back into the behind the scenes stuff because he's been learning in some way indirectly from All for One. so he's continuing his parallel with Deku in that he's on his own kind of training arc. But now the fact that he's not here, and the one thing that we saw from him recently was him leveling an area of a city.
Yeah.
I have some theories about that, but that, since this wasn't really Shigaraki's episode, let's focus on the fact that Meta Liberation Army and League of Villains are working together.
Yep.
It does not mean necessarily, though, that this is a public endorsement of either side towards each other.
No, not
this
necessarily.
This is in the dark. This is something that Hawks is aware of, so he can pass this along to his superiors. But the fact that the Meta Liberation Army that has, like, those suits and shadows, kind of thing there, I think gives me the vibe that those characters are ones that could have really specific locations or places or roles or positions, whatever, in Hero Society. That it's a really big deal that they don't get outed here.
Sure.
But in the OP, we can see clearly their design, so it's maybe more so for the Meta Liberation Army in general,
right?
Or just the lower members. Like, there was a guy who had like a big trench coat thing.
That
and
bodyguard
like,
dude.
Nope, you can't come in here. And that was a different room from where they were having the meeting, because Hawks was able to fit the
feather in the door. And I gotta say, as far as characters that are just Meta Liberation Army, like that we haven't previously been introduced to for like the League of Villains or things like that, that bodyguard actually is the one I'm most excited about, because that was mysterious and intimidating as hell. Like, the idea that he's just there. And Hawks isn't exactly a super big guy, but this guy was huge. And the fact that he was just like cloaked and stuff, it's like, wait, what's his deal? Like, I'm curious. But
so one of the things that, because there's a lot of intrigue with regards to the Meta Liberation Army kind of side of things, I want to put out constantly the idea that there's a little bit of stuff that we're not fully following really here. Okay. Because right now, based on the spot that he went to, it looks similar to the spot where he went to for the Meta Liberation Army. But when he entered, we did not see the people that are in some ways confirmed members of the Meta Liberation Army. So there's a possibility
this might be a different location.
That this might be a different location, and this is all just the League of Villains. And the reason why he was getting away with spying on them is that he's basically spying for the Meta Liberation Army.
Gotcha.
Here as well, and then these suits are not any different from the others. This is the League of Villains, and those are like their sponsors, their their mafia connections and stuff like that. Just wanted to bring that up as a
possibility.
Yeah, as a possibility, because the way that Hawks gives his vibe of stuff here, he never draws directly any difference between
he does
the Meta Liberation Army or stuff like that and them, other than this part of saying, yes, you really get the Destro-ness, which you said it sounded a little bit mocking in some way. Like, it sounded a little bit like, oh, you really get it, you know? You weren't really saying that?
I don't know.
Okay.
I might have.
But this other part where he says, well, you're doing a good job of spreading it. You're like a walking billboard, so the ideology will spread a lot. And then he's saying, well, winning over your base of teens and 20-somethings would be great for us. So that could be saying that's the Meta Liberation Army. I'm just throwing that out there as another interpretation of things.
Hawk said that it would be great if we could surround this place and get all the info on the rest of the Meta Liberation Army pockets through this place.
Right.
So I'm pretty sure this is some form of headquarters. The
spot where he says that specifically is he says, if we just surround this place right now, no, I need to think of the fastest way.
Right.
I need detailed locations of their numbers and their concealed sites across the country.
Right.
So most likely this is the Meta Liberation Army's base.
Right.
I just wanted to bring this up because there have been some parts in the way they've set up the presentation info that has been a bit confusing.
Yes. It makes sense that he would want to take everything out all at once, because when you're dealing with cells of an organization, it's almost impossible to deal with if they're insulated enough, then okay, you take out one, but you don't get any of the rest, right?
Absolutely.
And that's why Hawks' work is so important. With regards to the League of Villains' influence here, what I get the feeling of is that it's something, since there were so many of the League of Villains there, I feel like it's one of those things where since the Meta Liberation Army is a much bigger organization than the League of Villains, the League of Villains I almost feel like could be just, at least this is from the higher-ups in the Meta Liberation Army's perspective, they're a subset, It's like, yes, you're also part of our ideology and things like that. And, we're very, we have a massive organization, so naturally, you guys are sort of a part of it. And, you're doing pretty good, so we let you in on the big meetings or something. Yeah. Or it could be an alliance more by peerage.
I think the fact that they're allowed in the secret meetings with Hawks, though, means that they don't care about them having the top secret info. Sure. Which means on some level that there could be some big deal with how much info or how much power or influence they actually have. In the same way that they were trying to co-opt the Stain movement, this could be the full evolution of Stain's movement combined with a bunch of other anti-hero kind of sentiment-based stuff, and then they just, being some of the strongest out there in terms of villains, get a little bit more leeway in that regard.
And given the fact that there was also that room that Hawks didn't have access to, and that Hawks is getting spied on, there's a possibility that they still don't 100% trust Hawks.
And they don't need to 100% trust him.
Right, exactly. And that's
he's a hero, so they...
Well, yeah, he's a hero, but then also they're a cell-based organization, so you
need to know basis.
Need to know basis, right?
Yeah.
So even for the League of Villains being in there, that might also be something where it's like, they'll think they're in with us and they've got all the info, but really they don't necessarily, but
he's starting to panic a little bit. We get the full message of what he sent to Endeavor, and he gives not only stuff with regards to what should happen if he fails, but
wait for my signal.
Yeah. And it really feels like a couple other kind of big stories that I've read in times where you have the winged angel of sorts that is the harbinger of war that will give basically the burning signal of, it's all over now. The end has come.
I
really was right. I mean, Hawks is the harbinger. Like, we talked about the Mimi glass guy is like, yes, he was acting as the harbinger. He's that NPC that screams out the end of the story at the very beginning. He's like, don't trust the guy with white long hair.
Cthulhu will, But the whole bit with Endeavor and Hawks, and the whole Phoenix thing and all that stuff was super cool. And Hawks being the harbinger, absolutely. But we also got the whole bit with the work study.
Confirmation that this is why they're doing it.
Why the work study is important is, hey,
they need
a little bit of combat training for these kids before war breaks out.
They need them as the backup plan in case the heroes fail.
And given the OP, I get the feeling that's going to happen.
Oh yeah, well it's definitely going to happen. It's just a measure of how much it will happen. Because just because heroes fail doesn't mean like all the heroes are dead.
Right.
All you really need is for the current society to give up on the current generation of heroes.
Or even just for the heroes themselves to realize we are insufficient as of right now.
Well, yeah. But in terms of support, if the entire world, basically, if all the citizens of sorts that aren't allied with the Meta Liberation Army, they just rally behind the heroes, like there's going to be a lot more than 100,000.
Oh yeah.
So the main thing will be a battle of, I would say, ideologies, which is, well, the heroes, you're not actually doing enough. You're not actually doing enough, which I love it from that perspective, the way in which it puts the heroes into a no-win scenario, because the more they do, the more control and power that they get, the more overbearing and more demonstrative they get with the students. And then the parents and the society in general, the people, then look at what they're doing because they are, following the requests of the people. And then they go, no, we didn't want it
not
this
like that.
way.
Yeah.
And then it's like, so actually the best thing you want us to do is in some ways to step back.
Well, yeah, there's an
interesting
thought experiment that where maybe then what people want in a way, because the things that they're doing to prepare the kids. A lot of parents probably aren't okay with that. I'm sure Deku's mom would be like, I don't want you being prepped to go fight a war,
Right.
But at the same time, you want hero society. But then if you also...
Rescue, evacuation, and fighting.
Right.
That's 1/3 of the tenet, apparently, of being a hero, which is...
And I love that rescue and evacuation were two separate things, right? Because it's hey, you need to get in there and make sure that people aren't, immediately run over by a truck, right?
Right.
But then you also need to, if it's a burning building, not just get in there, but get people out.
You need to communicate, basically, properly so that people don't panic and don't collapse society, basically.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, when you phrase it like that, the heroes are just a flashier tip of the spear of regular, rapid response kind of services in a society.
Yeah, when there's a crisis, you basically need someone who is specifically trained for said crisis to come in and basically make sure that a lot of the people who are in panic survival mode don't have to think about complex critical thinking stuff if they're incapable of doing it.
One of the things that really stood out to me that I was like, oh, damn, that's intense, but I love it, is the fact that Endeavor's I use my flames to corral crowds. That's really scary if you think about it, because it's, oh shit, all of a sudden there's a wall of fire, but at the same time...
your human instinct is get away from fire.
But get away from fire, right?
Works.
It's a way to cut through the panic of a crowd and basically be do not come this way.
Right, but he could accidentally incinerate, people that...
And
he didn't even intentionally put his flames near. They just stumbled into it, and then suddenly...
Now, he has... In balance with that, we have shown that he has an insane amount of control over his flames. So maybe the flames don't burn that hot and things like that. And yeah, exactly. But it's right. It's the thing of where, oh, Endeavor, you're very effective, but also the scary Endeavor that we knew from back then. Yeah, I'm really glad that you're starting to turn things around.
Right. Speaking of which, Endeavor, this episode, he fills a role that we've never really had in the teacher-student dynamic of MHA. So you take the main big teachers that have been around throughout all the arcs. Yeah, and then Night Eye, I would say, is probably the other one that kind of adds to that mix there. Sorry, blood guy. No, sorry.
Yeah.
But these three teachers all taught in very different ways. Aizawa basically gave just either impossibly high standards to see how people would react to that. Kind of the more just mind games experiment. Or he would give impossibly low standards and basically just say, you're going to be heroes, think for yourselves.
Right.
Goes back
and
to
then
sleep.
See what they do.
Yeah, exactly. Night Eye specifically was calculating to the finest point in details, getting everything to that point. But he was almost a bit singular-minded.
Right.
And then All Might was this kind of awkward young man of sorts that had grown up in the limelight of being a hero, so he wasn't even that great necessarily.
He wasn't
a teacher.
Yeah, he was a figure, and
he was an ideal, an icon.
Right, and that
I
brings...
completely forgot Gran Torino. Sorry, Gran Torino is the only other teacher. He's literally just Taskmaster Yoda, who just
kind
of grit and grind, go,
hit you with his stick.
Yeah, do the repetitions, and he's basically a physical trainer in the strictest sense. Yeah.
But I'm glad that you brought up that, because I hadn't really thought about it in that extreme of a way, but that we haven't really gotten an Endeavor style of teaching before, because usually we don't get into the actually psychology of the teacher.
Yes, and we did
just
that here.
Get into, here's what I'm going to have you do as my students.
Right, and you know what he did first? He asked them what their goals were.
Yeah.
This is something we've never seen, really, in this strict sense within MHA. Almost all the other ones either come in with their specific curriculum style, and they're like, here's what you're going to learn today.
Yep.
Or All Might
here's
basically
what I have to teach you,
here's the
How
best
can I support
thing
you?
I can do to support you, right? Yeah. And also things that worked for me.
Right.
But Endeavor basically says, I don't know what works for you. I don't know you. I'm not going to presume anything. I'm going to treat you like heroes.
Yeah.
So all heroes that are worth their salt have goals. What are your goals? Midoriya Shonen.
Right. It's so
Shonen,
baseline and fundamental that it's easy to forget. But at the same, like in a lot of ways, this almost feels like even more of a personal trainer type thing than Gran Torino.
Yes.
Right? Where it's you're going to get in shape. What kind of shape?
It's more of the, I would say, the adult to adult kind of personal trainer.
Define the win, basically. Right.
Exactly.
And I love it because that's a look into Endeavor's world, right? Mm-hmm. That he's all about defining the win, right? He's trying to, piece by piece, build that bridge across the impossible chasm to All Might. Mm-hmm. You got to be methodical with that kind of shit, because it's not going to work in general. But if you want to get as far as possible, then that's the kind of things that you have to do.
And you have to break it down all the way to the tiniest little things. Now, because of the way our boys work, what the tiniest little things means to all of them is very different.
Yep.
He already knows Todoroki in a lot of ways, so he's like, I know your goals.
Flashfire, right?
I understand our relationship is not really great, but as a hero and as you know, the hero, you know, Shoto, I can reach you in that regard. But Bakugo and Deku, you guys are ones I've more just kind of seen from a distance, and you know, in some ways respect, because you guys are showing that you are the
you've got moxie.
You're the cream rising to the top of the UA kind of side of things, and in some ways, the fact that Shoto was brought along in addition to them shows that he's noticed that. So he's like, yeah, you guys are great. But Deku gets all the way into like, I need to, you know,
and gobbledygook. Like, okay.
Yeah, like, so I get that.
And I love how
I can break it down to the basic, like, 12-word summary, you know.
Yeah, which is a thing of Endeavor in a lot of ways showing his patience, because he's able to track with it, but he had kind of, I'm guessing, figured out the one-sentence summary beforehand.
Before that he really went on for more than, like, you know, 20 seconds. He's like, oh, this is that kind of thing. Oh,
yeah, okay. You want to be able to be proficient enough to toggle between the different things you can do, you know, instinctively.
Right.
Cool. All right. Yeah.
And Bakugo basically does the thing that shows in some ways his most professional side, which is, I have a very, very simple, easy to understand goal. Yep. I don't get lost in the weeds of all this other nonsense of details here.
And I know how to progress on my own.
Yeah, and I just need to be watching you do what you do best, so that I know where my limits are as I bump into them.
Yep, I'll do fine. Just give me someone to, you know, give me basically a hard thing to test my teeth on.
Yeah, something that I can't simply overcome.
Right.
So it will force me to adapt. And it's a very cool opposite to what Deku has.
Yep.
Deku has this overwhelming, I would say, almost neuroticism with regards to how he's overwhelmed with the burden of being the next, you know, symbol of peace, or his own symbol, if you will. But also that he does not have really All Might anymore in the sense that he had him before.
No.
All Might is an icon of the past, but more of now a wholesome equal, in that he is Deku from before with being quirkless, but also has, you know,
he's the closest thing to a dad that Deku has.
Yeah, right. So it's really sweet. But Bakugo looks at this guy and goes, well, obviously you're stronger than me. Obviously you're so much better than me in all these ways. I want to be, in some ways, the one that watches you, like you said at the big conference, you know, watch me. So he's like, okay, show me what I can't do.
Yeah.
Because that just means that I only need to commit enough resources and time to that thing before I can eventually do that thing, or I can then divert my energy over to something else, because that's a wasted amount of time, because I'm not going to break through that.
I only have the one quirk, but, you know.
Yeah, the fact that you could tell Bakugo is not just upset at Deku because of Deku just running his mouth, which is hilarious, but also you could tell because he was like you gotta, like, we know the secret, Deku,
and you're just talking about
this guy's probably a lot smarter than we are.
Right, so the other sidekicks are literally right there. Like,
yeah, but to be fair, I liked that there's this element of almost mature kind of self-doubt from Endeavor, where he kind of goes, I'm not going to question why your quirk is manifesting in weird ways. Like, I literally have a son that has both the ice and the fire quirk. He essentially has two quirks.
Yeah.
Like, essentially. It's now morphed into this own one kind of thing there. But he's like, no, I don't question that. I just want to know what your goals are. So in some ways, he's not like, wrap it up with the description of all your quirk stuff. I just need to know, what your goals are. He kind of goes, oh, yeah, yep,
Right.
Good.
And also, it's not just, like, the fact that it's a lot harder to simplify something succinctly than it sounds, you know?
Oh, yeah.
But like...
So true, especially when you're writing.
Yeah, especially when you're writing. So the fact that Endeavor was able to do that, I love. But yeah, also from the writing perspective, you know, of like, hey, Deku isn't exactly the kind of person to have a succinct goal, right? Because he's very neurotic, right?
Well, one that he can actually tell the truth about. Because you can't just say, I'm here to...
be the strongest hero, I want to be All Might's successor, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like, that doesn't exactly work.
It doesn't work.
You know, but
I want to use all these new quirks that I've been getting access to through my one-for-all connection.
Yeah, but you do need that kind of a thing for the main character in order to give the audience a crisp image of how the main character is looking to grow.
Yeah.
In order to make it so that it's proactive growth rather than reactive growth, right? Where all of a sudden stuff happens and they realize they're different, you know?
Right.
And so Endeavor here just being like, so is this what you mean, right? And he sums it up perfectly, and Deku's like, oh, yeah, exactly that.
That's basically
right. That just that absolutely tickled me.
But Endeavor's main focuses that he gives to all of them is the idea of multiprocessing or parallel processing and swift response or swift reaction, just being able to act without thinking.
Right.
Now, there's this very clear parallel in how he describes things with the car, and you're subconsciously doing multiple things all at once, and you realize, wait a minute, that sounds very similar to All Might's
One for All. Yeah.
One for All kind of, you know, kind of the idea of multiple
the power
quirks as well.
Yeah.
But what's crazy is that it's not only something that is for Deku with his idea of having, you know, multiple quirks. It's literally something Endeavor is hinting at, because then he thinks, like, thinking directly about All Might in the way he talks about there are those that are exceptions. So it's interesting because Endeavor knew about the gap between him and All Might, and that it was insurmountable. He could not build a bridge through that.
But he was still going to try.
He's still going to try, and yet the way he kind of noticed that, you know, Deku, you're like us. You are in some ways one of us in that regard. There's this. Oh
yeah, there was a point when he actually said that, wasn't there?
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was right after he goes on his rant. Then he has the season 2 flashback.
Oh yeah,
there.
You've had trouble with your quirk. I see. You were one of us.
You were one of us too, huh? So, what I love about this is to, you know, MHA is kind of quirky, in a funny way about this, is that it'll kind of poke a little bit of a kind of thing about the audience of, did you catch that? And literally Deku in the next scene just kind of looks at the camera and goes, huh? And there's a question mark above his head, like, wait, what does that? What does that mean?
Yeah, pay attention to this audience. You know?
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, Endeavor's not dumb.
Right.
He kind of understands that there's maybe another young All Might rising up, and he gets to watch this one's ascension.
Almost immediately upon meeting Deku, he pegged it as it's comparable to All Might.
Right.
Oh.
But the idea that, Endeavor connects this back to this is me building the bridge. So you've had someone maybe that you've had to look up to.
Right.
And your quirk maybe held you back. Maybe a little bit of who you were made it so it's not, you have a difficult road ahead of you.
Right.
And I understand that.
Yeah, because it's the, your power is comparable to All Might's, but there's this crazy drawback that makes it really tough to use. Well,
so he doesn't necessarily think that he has literally All Might's quirk.
But at the very least that it's natural that he would look to All Might as the goal, the beacon, the paragon, all that stuff, right? And it's the, Endeavor definitely hasn't done that.
And Endeavor wasn't the only one.
Right.
The thing that I really love about that little scene where Endeavor flashed back to that in the end of season 4, it's probably one of my favorite bits for his character, is that there are a lot of other people on the other side of the chasm, but they're not all building the bridge.
Right. Most of them.
None of them are building the bridge.
Right, and that was the whole point with Hawks. He's like, look at this idiot. What is he doing? You know, like, doesn't he realize how silly that is?
But also he's, admires Endeavor in that regard, so he's like, I can't help but admire that effort there.
Yeah, when you see someone try to do the impossible repeatedly without losing like losing their vigor or fire or their desire or belief that maybe it could happen, that's either they're crazy or they're incredible.
Yeah. Now, Todoroki.
Yeah.
This was probably the thing that we knew had to happen the more Endeavor interacted with Shoto specifically.
Oh, yeah.
But the way it happened here kind of coalesced a couple things that were a little bit vague or a little bit just, they could go in multiple directions.
Right, exactly. Emotions are, finicky things. Yeah.
Yeah, and also it's complicated with this family.
Oh, yeah.
But Shoto wants to use Endeavor because it's convenient. And that keeps it really simple.
Yep.
So we know exactly where he stands in this, in that he is not reaching out to connect with Enji Todoroki.
Nope.
He is reaching out to connect and build something through the strength that Endeavor, the hero, has acquired over all these years.
Yep. He drew boundaries, basically.
He drew very clear boundaries there, which means don't put on the parent act in front of my friends.
Yeah.
That command there is so powerful because he basically just said, I won't acknowledge you as a father, so don't pretend to be. Don't pretend to be.
And the fact, I love that this happened in front of Endeavor's sidekicks. Because it's for all the awesome things that Endeavor does, it's still that good reminder that, oh shit, he was kind of a shit dad. And these people work under him, and they probably respect him a lot in the things that he's able to do. But having that reminder of, no, he is very much a person. He has made all kinds of mistakes, and this is an example of one of them, right? And while he's trying to set things right and to fix things, and Endeavor gets worried, like he gets worried about the fact that Todoroki said this or that Shoto said this, but no. That's actually, that means you're in a good ballpark, because the fact that he drew boundaries basically said, within this realm you're okay.
Yeah.
As Endeavor, okay. I can interact with Endeavor.
Right.
That's okay. Shoto of season 2, no way in hell he would have done this. Even if he knew that it was the best option for him to grow as a person and a hero, he would have avoided it like the plague.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, he needed to face himself before he could face his dad.
Exactly.
So now he faces, in some ways, the dragon just says, yeah, you're good. Just keep doing what you're doing. Don't try to make anything more out of this than what you think it could be.
Right.
And this is something that I realized I just forgot about. Endeavor makes the point of, I thought he was opening up to me a little, but I was foolishly mistaken with regards to the fact that he chose to do his work study here himself.
Right.
This is not something where
he was assigned, or
he
whatever.
was assigned in this way at all. And in some ways, the hero course with UA and all that probably would not ever presume to give the student the forced choice of, you have to go to this one.
Right.
Because,
it's just who is willing to have you.
Which one sent out offers, basically, and then they choose. So in that respect, I think I might have dropped the ball in that I think all three of them were given offers.
Right.
It's just the fact that, Todoroki was already saying yes, so then the other two went as well. So then it's like, so we're all going to do this together. But then he decides to look on them as heroes. He teaches them some basics. He shows some ways in which they can use their quirks more effectively.
Yep. Gives them concrete, immediate things to say, this is how you know that you've progressed with regards to your goal.
Yeah, and also, like, don't worry about this thing, Deku, or focus on this bit, Bakugo. There's a very clear goal set that he's giving to them that is in alignment with the goals that they gave him initially. And this is what a good trainer does, is they go, okay, as long as I know that this is your umbrella goal, as long as all the goals I give you help build up the support system for this umbrella, this everything else that's there, then I'm doing a good job as a trainer. And then you, as the trainee, need to take initiative with the stuff that I give you and put it into practice and use it. So he's like, good, I'm bringing you to the best environment with the best kind of stuff that you've been given through UA and, well, Deku, All Might. And so let's do it. So now, in some ways, the rest of this arc can be about heroes doing hero work and the escalation of, what's going on in the sidelines, because there's some stuff going on.
There's some shit going down.
And it is very much in the dark. Like,
Yep. Yeah.
But,
oh, man.
Yeah, anything else you want to say?
Well, just that anytime that you're you're putting yourself into a situation where you're going to follow someone's guidance and then push yourself through something very painful for a desired outcome. There is a trust that you need between you and the person who is directing you, right? And I think that's really cool that for Deku, him needing to trust Endeavor doesn't really mean as much, I feel like. But for Shoto especially, that's really cool, right? Because that their whole relationship dynamic has such a checkered past, right?
Right, because of the father versus hero.
Exactly, right. Yeah. And then for Bakugo, the idea of also coming to someone where he's like, yeah, I know I'm insufficient. I know I have limits. I haven't been able to reach them yet, but I trust you in that you'll be able to point them out to me. That's a big deal for Bakugo.
That's a big deal.
That is a huge deal. And he's already, Endeavor already pointed one out to him, right? He made sure to do that quickly of like, I got there before you. And it's like, okay, and it's like, don't worry, Bakugo. I know that you have basically sort of blitzed through all your opposition and you haven't really been able to test your mettle because you've just defeated everything, right? But with me here, that's going to be different.
Right, and I love that in some ways the one part where Bakugo was the weakest with Season 3 was the part that led in some ways to the downfall of All Might. And I'm really excited with what they do here with Bakugo, because if he's self-aware enough to realize that was really the only time he truly had his limits
made known to him,
because he beat Deku in Season 3. Like that was a point where he was really realizing, wait, are you the one ahead of me or am I ahead of you? And realized, no, I'm ahead of him. And Deku keeps going ahead of him at little moments and stuff, pissing off Bakugo. But
you get multiple quirks. Okay, fine.
Fine. No, but I think Bakugo is realizing, no, I can keep up with Deku, most likely, but I want to know where my limits are at the furthest point.
Right.
And in some ways, that's going to be the point where he either learns not just a combination of humility and excellence, but some kind of understanding of what his role will be if Deku does not have any limits. And that he keeps going, and he'll be able to go, okay, once I hit here, though, I will be satisfied.
Sure.
Until something, drastic changes. But
Last thing I want to say, I don't know how I didn't realize this before, but the fact that Deku is developing multiple quirks, I love with regards to Bakugo as a character, because where their relationship started, Bakugo had the quirk, Deku did not, right? Yeah. And that had its whole dynamic, and Bakugo was an absolute shithead because of it. Now, Deku is getting multiple quirks, and Bakugo just has the one. Oh, how the turns have tabled.
I like it, yeah. Y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in... sorry, we don't have those next week because we're watching these week to week. But if you want to watch the full-length timer version of this reaction, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. Any level of support there gets you access to our Discord, where you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about MHA in general. And also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all
next time.